Thank you so much, Chair. And I'm not going to be repetitive, but I do want to emphasize that I feel like this bill is going to impact U.S. citizens more than non-citizens because non-citizens cannot vote, but the requirements that you are establishing under the guise of election security will actually create more barriers for people that are eligible to vote, but don't always have the perfect documentation that's outlined, might not have updated a real ID or have a birth certificate from a different state. I mean, there's all these nuances. And I work really closely with organizations in my community that help, for example, our homeless community members get their IDs back. And it's not as easy as it sounds. With that said, I think a bunch of my questions and a huge bulk of my concerns centered on the campus experience. And partly because, like, I grew up on a campus experience. Like, I'm only here because I was involved in my college campus. And there are students that I helped register to vote peer-to-peer that I had driven to the polls that I run into now. We're all grown up. And they remember me helping them get to their polling location. Because even for students that are seeking a higher, post-secondary degree, it can still be a very convoluted process. And a lot of students are not always walking around with their IDs, especially if they don't drive, they live on campus, everything's tap to pay now. And so we kind of make assumptions about that student experience. And I asked the question earlier about a student who votes provisionally and then has to cure. You only have 2 days to cure, and being able to find the right documentation to do that is going to make it nearly impossible for that student who is eligible to vote to be able to exercise their political viewpoint. So I'm really in opposition to many parts of this bill, but I just find it just really frustrating that we're allowing all government IDs to be present, but then intentionally excluding identification cards issued by an educational institution. There's no reason why not to include state universities and state colleges that have requirements to provide identification. They know who that student is. And so I really would encourage y'all to remove that strike and to put this language back in the bill, because students are the future of this state, and we should give them a clear path to engage politically. And time again, you see efforts to make it harder for students to engage. And I can only assume it's because we don't want students to engage. And if that's not the case, then we need to make sure there's a clear pathway for eligible students to have a path to vote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair.
Representative Jock.